It was just one of the more rewarding things that I've ever done. I want to do this forever. This is so awesome.
What was it about the Lego style that drew you in?
Just using rigged characters and existing audio like I do with Lego animations is a really great way to power through a ton of animation practice.
You've got 3 incredible voice actors.
I started blasting. Bang!
3 sound effects.
I personally was having so much fun figuring out how to convey the same emotions that a human body can convey with the very limited range of Lego figures. Again, in Deadpool Wolverine, when the seats were bloody, I made it bloody fingerprints. I thought it'd be more fun if it was within the Lego world.
So much that goes into these. It's incredible.
My biggest piece of advice is that people will be assholes. People would either insult me or tell me I was wasting my time. If you keep going, you'll find your audience eventually.
Hey, Trevor, we were just talking about Lego. Can you believe it?
What?
16 years ago, I was at university and we recreated a Top Gun trailer in Lego, and it's terrible. But it's got 65,000 views. That's pretty cool.
Nice. There you go.
I thought, oh, this is good because I can show Trevor this, as bad as it is. But I will save that for a bit later. Yeah, I'll let you introduce yourself and tell us who you are and a little bit about your background.
I'm Trevor Carlee. I'm primarily just a content creator, animator, and I animate a lot of popular scenes in movies and Lego.
Awesome, man. And yeah, you recently spoke at BlenderCon. What was that like?
Very nerve-wracking.
I imagine.
My wife kept putting me up to it because I went to BlenderCon for the first time last year. And then when I signed up this year, she was like, you should do a talk. And I was like, I don't know what to talk about. She's like, well, talk about what you do. I'm sure people would love the insight. So I submitted and they accepted. And so then I just spent the next 4 months stressing about having to speak publicly.
Oh, man. We was hoping to go this year, but my wife recently gave birth to a baby and it literally lined up with the birth of my daughter.
Nice.
So maybe next year.
Congrats.
But yeah, thanks, man.
It's fun. I love BlenderCon. It's a really cool environment, and the Blender community is obviously just really great. And everybody's just excited to share information and knowledge, and it's a really great, fun experience.
Your origin story, can you just talk about that briefly, Trevor? So, big fan of Buffy, you're doing art pieces, you're dabbling in 3D, you're doing all that stuff, and then you get asked to animate an intro to Shark Week, which I'm a big fan of sharks.
While I was an editor producer, I was doing visual effects, avoided 3D a bunch, and then during the pandemic, decided to fully learn 3D. I was like, well, now's as good a time as any. I did the donut tutorial, and then in order to continue learning, I took on my own self-imposed project of a 3D art piece for every episode of Buffy, and then eventually also Angel. So I was doing that, and I was putting it out online and growing a following, and people were really loving it. And then a producer that I had worked with in a previous show saw that I was getting a lot more into 3D, asked if I would do an animated title card, which I had done before. I assumed it was just going to be a 3D title card over ocean water, which would have been nice and simple. But he had a much more intricate idea of what he wanted it to be, which required 3D animation. So I accepted the job and then kind of figured out how to animate in 3D space in Blender.
We hear that all the time, Trevor, where people say, I was offered a job or asked to do this thing and I didn't know how to do it, but I was like, yeah, I can do it.
Yeah.
then you're straight on the internet going, how to animate Will
Yes.
Smith.
Yeah.
I was always told if there's 51% chance you can do something, say yes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a firm believer that most people can do most things. Sometimes I can't do something. I'll be like, oh, I could do that, and I'll try it. And then I'm like, well, maybe that was a little too big for me. But for the most part, I think if you just really push through, and especially now in 2025 with YouTube, everything's out there to figure out how to do it.
Oh, yeah.
That bit me. I was I had so much fun animating that I then took on another Buffy project, which was Buffy into the Slayerverse.
My name is Buffy Summers. I'm the chosen one. The one and only Slayer.
Which goes against everything that they say when learning animation. They're like, take on small projects, do the bouncing ball. But I just did this because doing the 3D art pieces for Buffy really helped me grow and learn and kept me motivated. So I did it with that. really enjoyed that. And then slowly it was just like, oh, let me try this Lego thing. And then same thing, did Lego Buffy scenes, and it just kind of started blowing up from there.
Awesome, man. It's always good, isn't it? Like you've said this on your talks before, like having something that you love really just helps you finish a project and keep returning to the project and getting it done.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So there, what you're doing is you're mixing something that you love, all your new skills, and then also texturing, rigging, modeling.
It was a huge learning curve and like boost in my love for animation, because it was like you said, it was everything. I modeled all the characters, textured everything, built all the environments, rigged everything. I wrote the music. I rewrote the script of the Into the Spider-Verse to match the lore of Buffy. It was just one of the more rewarding things that I've ever done. And I remember the shot. It's a close-up of Buffy's feet running on the ground. And I remember just like animating that and having it done and rendering it out and like looking at it like, I just made all of that. That's so cool. I was like so pumped. I was like, I want to do this forever. This is so awesome. When I took on Buffy into the Slayerverse, I wanted to learn everything about the animation process. So I wanted to learn what the modeling was and texturing and rigging and building environments and cinematography and lighting and all that. And so like having it wrapped around this, obviously Spider-Verse and Buffy, which I both absolutely love and adore, kept me motivated to just like really finish this project. But then I also think just using rigged characters and existing audio like I do with Lego animations is a really great way to like power through a ton of animation practice, where you can just like you just load stuff up. I'll do it with humanoid characters too, just to get through it and not have to worry about like, oh, I really gotta figure out what this world is. Like save that for when you really want to focus on your own creative like original endeavors, and then do the stuff that exists as a way to just practice.
What was it about the Lego style that drew you in? You've probably told this a million times to people asking the question.
I originally had done it just because I'd seen a couple Lego animations online, and I found out about Mecabricks.
With Mecabricks, you can go on there, build characters, and download them essentially for you to rig.
You can get 3D meshes from an app called Bricklink Studio or a website called Mecabricks. They have different features that the other one doesn't have, so you can bounce it back and forth between them, and you can make something in Bricklink Studio and bring it into Mecabricks. I don't believe you can do the reverse. Specifically Mecabricks, you can just go in, you create an account, it's all free. You go in and you can either build an environment, you could build a minifig, and then you export that as a ZMBX file. And then they have a free add-on called Blender Lite, which will let you import. And then they have a $25 add-on that imports it with like scratches and fingerprints, and you can customize the level of those as well. And then when you bring it in, there's a free add-on called Epic Fig Rig, which you have the Mecabricks minifig imported, and then you just select the pieces and say rig it, and then it creates a custom rig. You can just get into animating really fast.
Nice.
I was like, oh man, this is really fun, and it was a lot faster than modeling everything from scratch.
Yeah, man.
And so I was just like, well, let me try to do the Buffy thing again. So I started doing Buffy scenes, and people really resonated with that online. People were just like, oh my God, yes, Buffy and Lego, that would be so cool. So I just kept doing Buffy scenes, and I personally was having so much fun figuring out how to convey the same emotions that a human body with all these different muscles and joints can convey with the very limited range of Lego figures.
Is it fun to be able to just kind of snap a prop into a thing like you would physically, and rather than getting the intricate animation in terms of, fingers and all that stuff? What's that like?
The reason I've been able to do as many animations as I have is because you're not having to focus on the minutia of if a hand grabs something off of a table. And in Lego, it's just like a claw clipping onto a thing. And if you're animating on twos, just do a very quick like click together, and it all flows a lot better and is a lot faster to animate. And you can focus on just kind of like the ebb and flow of how everything's going, instead of really making sure it feels natural and right physics-wise.
Yeah, I'll be the judge of that.
This Mecabricks thing, for me, 16 years ago, would have been amazing, because we did one at university, which is terrible now. We spoke about it earlier.
Yeah.
You do not have to say this is cool or good, because it isn't great. So we did this. We've got bendy legs. We've got terrible geometry. We've got bad animation. Look at that, terrible.
No, this is great.
We were using Maya because that's all we knew. The spiraling hands, at the time I thought that was hilarious, and I guess it's the only way to move the hand, I guess.
Yeah.
Super glossy. Oh my gosh, look at that. And then there's the volleyball scene.
Yeah.
That I really liked.
Necessary volleyball, yeah.
Terrible compared to what can be done now, of course. We didn't even animate the faces, Trevor. Look at that.
That's great.
With movies like, the Lego movie, are they kind of the references that you kind of look at, and is there a lore of what can and can't be done with Lego figures?
Yeah. I want to say Lego Movie is kind of my primary point of reference. Lego Movie and Lego Batman Movie, because Lego Batman Movie used the majority of the rules that the Lego Movie did, but they took poses to another level. Like in Lego Movie, if you look closely, they still do have the arms kind of come out, and they do have the heads swivel, not just spin, but they do it just slightly. And then in the Batman movie, they're a lot more free, and the rule is more just like, as long as you don't see the pieces cutting into each other, then you're fine. As long as it doesn't look like a mistake in 3D, and then you can get a lot more out of the expressions of the characters.
And then you just apply that, when you're copying a shot from, a TV show.
I try to focus on what sells the emotion and what sells the shot the most. So like when I did Young Frankenstein and Marty Feldman's character, he's got his arms like kind of crossed and he's got the cape over it. And I couldn't really convey that with the way it was set up. So I have his arm kind of hovering over, and it sells what the image of the original looks like, and isn't exactly one-to-one the way his arms are in the thing, but it still feels as though his arms are doing the same thing. So I do that a lot. Or I'll change something up completely. Like when I did Twisted Metal, there's a wide shot. One character slowly sits down in the car, and the other one like slowly drags the chair up. I was just like, that's gonna look weird in Lego and like and not really exciting in Lego. So I just was like, oh, I'll just have her run off frame and then jump on and spin, and like I'll do something that is the spirit of the shot, or I'll just completely change it if I need to.
There's definitely so many elements of you as a creator to change it up and make it work.
It's one of the more difficult aspects of it too, because, and especially as you grow as a content creator, like with more and more eyes on my animations, people like to point out problems that they have with them. Like for instance, a Veep scene that I did where I didn't capture the character in the background scratching his face, which usually I'm very detailed in making sure I catch everything, which is another fun part for me, is like just trying to make sure I'm seeing everything that's going on in the scene and catching everything, especially if it's important to the scene. And then a lot of people were like, oh, you didn't do Gary scratching his face when she says the line. But the reason I didn't was because having a Lego character's full arm just kind of come up and do this looked more like Gary was like signaling to the woman. And I was just like, well, it completely changed the scene. Like it made me stop paying attention to Selena. So it's one of those where I was just like, okay, well, I'm just going to not have him do that. And there was no other thing for him to do.
So people are really analyzing these Lego versions and going, Trevor's really captured this moment, or maybe didn't capture this, and why have you done that? Like, you meant to do all the intricate details, but there's a guy in the background you just didn't care about. What are you doing, Trevor? It's like, there's so much more to it, but I appreciate everybody caring so much about the craft and how much work you put into these.
Yeah, it's definitely a double-edged sword, because like it is what I'm well known for, is like catching all the details of these things. But then also when I sit down to a scene, I'm like, fuck, I gotta do that, because people are getting upset if I don't catch that one person in the background.
Yeah.
There's a lot of scenes where people are like, that people suggest to me, where they're like, oh, you got to do this scene for Brooklyn Nine-Nine. And I'm like, I really want to, but there's like 30 people in the background, and I don't want to have to focus on animating 30 background, especially if it's irrelevant to the scene. Like, for instance, when I did the Witcher fight, there's a ton of characters, but they're all doing stuff. So it's like, it was a fun challenge to figure out a one-shot fight sequence, but to just do a joke and have to account for 30 people in the background just doing nothing. That's not only weighs down my computer, but it's just all this extra work for nothing. Like it doesn't add anything to the scene other than if I don't, people would be like, where's all the people?
And they go, oh, Trevor, you suck. And then you're like, oh, unfollow, because unfollow, he didn't animate that one guy.
That's right. There's no background characters. I'm done.
Do you have any kind of, asset libraries? You like repurpose walk cycles and things? Do you download face preset mouth shapes or?
I don't have any animation assets because I have a default character I have set up that I'm easily able to import, that I have like all my features on it saved and everything. And I keep meaning to like build out a walk animation and a run animation and an idle animation just so that I have those. That'll also make it easier for background characters to be like, oh, I have him walk and I'll have him walk, and that'll kill half the time, which is great. I just haven't had the time to do it because I'm like just constantly making scenes.
Yeah, I bet.
But to answer the other question, I do have Mecaface, which is the other add-on that I use that's also $25 on Mecabricks, has a built-in library. And what I usually do is I go frame by frame with the mouth, and then I go frame by frame with the eyes, and then frame by frame with the eyebrows. But with the mouth, I will, every other frame, I have to, create a whole shape. So if they're just talking like I am now, I just do the normal and I blend them together and just kind of make it feel natural. And then if they're just like, and then, and like open their mouth super wide and have their like lips turned to the side or whatever, then I'll go in and try to make it seem the same as it is in the original, just for the fun of it.
Do you animate it all on, say, like normal and then step it? What's that process like of animating that style?
I create keyframes on frame 0 for every bone, and then I add a stepped interpolation F-curve modifier to the bones, and that makes it on 2s. When I first started doing this, I just animated, and then once I was finished, I baked it all and then, killed half the frames and turned it into constants, which was really destructive because it was like that was it. And then once I figured out step interpolation, it helped me really have the Bezier animation, like the natural flow, but then also let it be on 2 so I could see what it's going to look like while I'm animating it. So that's been my favorite way of doing it.
Is that just the default modifier that you can tick on and off? Or are there any other like tools that are dedicated to kind of bring that workflow, like a non-destructive step switcher?
Yeah, it's the default one in Blender. They have it in the linear animation. I can't remember what it's called.
NLA.
Yeah, the NLA, thank you. If you want your character to be on 2s and your camera on 1s, I'm pretty sure you could just render 12 frames a second and if like animate it, and if you just had static cameras on same render time. But if you want to animate on 1s but your characters are on 2s, then you'd want to put a stepped interpolation modifier on them.
And what if you're doing moments of 2s and then it goes into 1s? Can you do that in that modifier? Can you choose a section that is 2s and then layer another one that goes to 4s and blend them? Is that a thing?
Yeah. The modifier has a frame range, so you can say from 0 to 112 be on 2s, and then after that it'll just go back to 1s, and then you can do another modifier and stack them. I actually have all of my characters have a lot of stepped interpolation modifiers already because I do the whole scene with cameras. If a camera switches on a 1 frame, if a character's on 2s, you're gonna have like this 1 frame jump. The biggest issue is like in the shows that we're doing, they obviously, most of them weren't shot in 1 take. And so I can't set up an environment and characters to just exist the way it is in the show because that's not how they did it. And it just wouldn't work physically. So I have to move everybody around and move characters and environments around with every single camera jump. And so if the camera moves on frame 19 and the character updates on frame 20, then there's going to be like this 1 jump frame of like the character not being right. So I have stepped interpolation modifiers going in between every single camera cut.
Gotcha. That's, I guess, something that you work out as you go. Like, there's a problem. It's like, how do I get around that thing?
For the longest time, I just dealt with it. I was just like...
Got painful.
Yeah, it was a pain in the ass. So I was just like, let me figure out how to fix this.
Then, of course, you're introducing like, moving cameras, and then you're getting the jitter when the cameras are moving against twos and the cameras are on ones because it's like stop motion style. You can't move unless you're both on ones. It's going to sync up.
Yeah.
What was that like for you, tackling that moment where you're like, I want to move the camera, and the characters are moving across the frame so much on twos that you're getting that jitter?
Yeah.
I think there's add-ons and tools to do that now in Blender, but did you encounter that?
Yeah, one of the ones I actually keep meaning to go back and like revisit the scene, the Witcher fight that I did. I'm really proud of it. It's really good, but there's a couple of moments where there's the jitter because the camera's coming with him and he's moving on twos, and I hadn't quite figured that out at the time. And then now I've realized that like there's a bunch of different methods. The one that I've done lately is the one position that's moving forward for the character, whether it's the master bone or the hip bone or whatever. I just take that off of twos for the time that the camera's moving.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
And then that way the character is smoothly moving with the camera, but everything else is on twos. So it still has the choppy animation, but it's not, the movement that's going along with the camera isn't choppy. There are add-ons that do that. I haven't downloaded those yet. I keep meaning to try those out so that I'm not doing this manually.
When you're recreating a shot from a TV show or a movie, you've got 3 incredible voice actors.
I started blasting. Bang! Bang! Well, I don't see so good, so I missed. Then they ran away. I ran after them.
You've got 3 audio and sound effects.
Take me home.
Do you ever add additional audio sound effects on, or is it just, I'm going to use that's the scene, I'm just animating on top?
And I do sometimes add my own sound designs to scenes. If it's something like, a character pulling money out and there's like a little boop sound effect, or like somebody swishing their hand, I'll do swish sound effects. Or if like a character's walking away and the original audio has either really loud human sounding footsteps or there's no sound at all, I'll put like little Lego blip, 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 blip sound effects. So I'll do that from time to time if I just ever feel like the scene needs it, or if it would enhance the comedy somehow, I'll do that.
Do you get any copyright issues at all with YouTube and monetizing? And
yeah, I want to say it's about 60-40. Like, I don't get strikes in the negative way where they're like, you need to stop. It's more just like, you can't monetize this. The major ones are HBO and Peacock hit me with like, this is our audio. I don't know if it's them, or I assume it's just the algorithm like tags it because they have their system, all their stuff in a library, and it's like, this audio comes from, Succession, and you can't monetize it. And so it just kind of comes with the territory. I can't really do anything about it. I'm like, you're not wrong. It's your audio. Like, so that's also why, to any of my fans out there wondering why I don't do certain shows as much as I used to, it's because I can't make money on it anymore.
Yeah.
So
the one that pops into my head, just as you say that, Trevor, is you've done Wolverine Deadpool, the trailer. Incredible. One of my favourite ones. I would love to have seen the Backstreet Boys fight dance scene, but with that soundtrack, can you not do that one because of monetization things?
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure monetization would go. And just to clarify, like, I'll still do things even if I know that it'll get taken down monetization. Like, I did the Wicked trailer and I was like, this is covered in the music from the movie. There's no way it's not gonna. And it didn't. I wasn't able to monetize it, but like, it was still a really fun challenge for me.
Say you've chosen your scene, you're ready to go. How long do you spend making the custom like models?
I basically sit down and I'll get the scene together, and then I'll build the environment, and then I usually don't do the textures and colors and everything until I've animated the whole scene. So I'll animate the whole scene in the viewport render, make sure everything looks good, and then I go through and do the lighting and textures and everything.
And are these characters linked in from a file that you can kind of update the asset and then it propagates through the shots?
I'm not very good with the linking aspect in Blender. I mean to get better, but for my process and these scenes, the append seems to have been the best way working with this. Because when I went back and redid a New Girl scene, the facial animations and the lighting had always bugged me. I was like, you know what? This is such a popular scene. I'm going to update it with like what I've learned over the past year. I was able to just like import my newest rigged character and then just copy the action over and then delete the old one, because Blender's so flexible and like being able to copy things over and whatever. It's been a pretty smooth process.
That's the beauty of having these conversations.
Yeah.
People might think, oh, you have all these fancy linking systems and all these custom things that just fit in. It's like not always the case, and it's really insightful to just hear how everybody does things. That's the whole idea of
for sure.
the podcast. Yeah. On your talk, he says you used to build these full scenes, but then that adds a lot of lag to the scenes. You just work to the camera.
I think because I was new to it, I was like, oh, I'll just build out the room and then I'll position the characters and I'll move the cameras around. And I thought at the time, like, oh, that'll save me time because, then I don't have to worry about anything and everything exists in the world. But didn't realize I was spending so much time building out the thing. And then also it was slowing down my computer having all of these pieces in there. And then I was like, oh, if I can just have like 3 pieces of wall in the background, that's all they see. And then just have like a fake room around them to block out the light. That's the same exact thing, but so much faster.
Moving on to like lighting, I guess it's reverse engineering a scene that you're looking at and then recreating it in Blender. Can you just talk about the process of like your tips and tricks for like lighting a scene and getting it to kind of match the reference?
It's honestly been one of the more fun aspects because when I first started this, I just threw an HDRI up and it does look nice. Like you can just throw an HDRI on Lego scenes and you're going to get a good product. But I've learned that low contrast HDRIs work best in Lego because they're glossy, scratched surfaces. And so having high contrast, sharp, pointy lights will cause a lot of flicker wherever the scratches are. And in my older animations, you'll see it a lot. I would render with the highest amount of samples and it would just never go away. And I was like, what the hell? And then I learned that bigger lights and low contrast HDRIs takes all that away. So I start with a low contrast HDRI. I take it super down, so it's barely lights the scene, but it's kind of like if you walk into a house and there's no lights on and all the windows are closed. And then I'll start placing in lights to light the characters. I usually do light linking for each individual character just so that it's not reflecting on the character in front of them. So like I'll have a really strong backlight behind a character just to give them a rim light. But if they're standing in front of the other character, that means when I cut to the other angle, there's just going to be this giant rectangle reflecting on their face. So I'll just do it and I'll link it just to that character. When I do like a key light on a character, if it's too close to their face, there'll be again another rectangle on their face, and you don't want that because it distracts from the eyes and the mouth. And so I'll disable the glossy of that light, which doesn't look good at first. It makes the character look less reflective because there's no like lights bouncing off of it. And then I'll duplicate the light and bring it over to the side just so that, and turn the glossy back on and like lower it a little bit just so that it gives the illusion that there's a reflection, but it's not directly in their face. So I do just stuff like that, and I'll make sure the characters are well lit and matching the original, and I'll lower the angle of the light. For instance, if they have a strong key light and there's like a shadow on the side of the face, it's hard to do with Lego because when we're humans, like the way the sun's hitting my face right now, my nose and there's a lot of 3D elements blocking the light from the other side of my face, but Lego's just like one cylinder, so it's harder to get that straight line and look good. So I get it as close as I can. And then once they're lit, I'll do lights in the background to just like, lift it up a little bit. Or if there's like a window reflection kind of, or like, blinds reflecting on the thing, I'll do things like that, gobos or whatever.
And has it been like a really nice kind of way to learn lighting and cinematography through reverse engineering these scenes?
It's been really cool to see as I'm looking at scenes. I'm like, how do they get this, little line of light here in this one area and have it not affect this? Like it's been really fun trying to figure that out. And I'll do things in Blender where I have like 7 lights. And I'm like, I feel like they didn't have 7 lights on this character in the original. I was like, so it's always fun just like getting closer and closer to figuring out the actual like light setup that they have on a scene and understanding the motivation behind it. And there's scenes that I'll animate where it doesn't translate to keep it as low light as they have it in the original. Like you can get away with a lot, especially with the way 3D human beings are and the way an actual environment is as opposed to Lego. So like there's scenes where I'm like, when I do light it the way it is in the original, it looks bad because it looks like I didn't actually light the scene. So I have to like do something to kind of elevate it a little bit.
You've got the reference, you've got the lighting, but you've got the world of Lego. It's kind of like a juggling act, I guess.
No, it 100% is. And it also, the Lego meshes, everything is at basically 1,000 scale, the way that they come in from Mecabricks. So lighting, like all the lights are at like 15,000 watts. And that's the other big issue, is having to have such bright lights. If it gets too bright, then it starts to flicker on the scratches. And so like I've found for myself that 15,000 is like the limit of what works before it starts really messing with the reflections.
What about cameras? What's that been like, kind of understanding camera language and things like that on a Lego scale?
Yeah. My default lens for a camera is 90 millimeters. Since everything's so huge, I have to do the f-stop at 0.03. So typically you would want it to be at like 1.4 for a real life f-stop and get that macro lens look. But because it's so huge, that a 1.4 f-stop would be nothing. It's like if you come out and you shoot a city, you know, all these giant buildings, you're not going to have a very shallow depth of field. Everything's going to be in focus. And you don't want that with Lego. You want a very shallow depth of field because it's like you're filming something small. And so I often start with 90 millimeters and a 0.03 f-stop, and then I'll have to make it a shorter lens sometimes because of the restriction of the scene. Like, you know, if there's a wall in the way or a character or whatever. I've lately just been moving things, like, so I'll still have the 90 millimeter and I'll just like drop the wall down, but then that gets so much more complicated with like revealing more light. If I remove a wall to have the camera, then I have to also account for blocking the light where that wall was blocking the light. So it gets really messy with all that. So sometimes I'll just shorten the focal length and then I'll have to change the f-stop, and it's all just kind of like I have to eyeball it and see what looks right, what looks best.
So you're talking about lighting and, you know, intricately putting lights here to get reflections. I can imagine the headache of the stop motion world of, you know, blocking a light here or a tiny light here, there's a reflection over there. There's so much that goes into these shorts, and, you know, it's incredible, so intricate.
It's so nuts. Yeah.
One of your shots, I watched this morning actually, you could see a big thumbprint on the glass.
One of the features of Mecabricks is it has a fingerprint texture on it that you can slide the intensity of. And I often have fingerprints really low. And so there's fingerprints on everything, but then I'll use fingerprints for things like, if the one that's gotten the most comments on is the one I did for the Deadpool and Wolverine trailer. They're driving and the original window was like all cracked and broken. I didn't want to crack it and break it, but I still wanted to have the same feeling, like you couldn't see who was on the inside. And so I really ramped up the fingerprints and the scratches and everything. And people were like, I love the fingerprints on the windshield.
Cool,
so yeah,
man.
It's always, whenever it's like super pronounced, it's usually me doing it on purpose. Not so much to sell the idea that it was played with, but more to get an idea across. Like in again, in Deadpool and Wolverine, when the seats were bloody, I made it bloody fingerprints all over because I didn't want to do just like blood splatters, because I thought it'd be more fun if it was like within the Lego world. But Superman having a dirty face, I gave him like dirty thumbprints on his face. I use it whenever I can tell a story with it.
Brilliant, man. Talking of storytelling, a question from one of our audience members, CG Jack B, asked, are there any thoughts on making original short or a new story but based in an existing IP, e.g. Buffy or, you know, Marvel world, but tell your own story in that universe?
Yes, I have a couple of things that I'm working on. Those ones, the original things that I'm working on, I suffer the same thing that most artists suffer and take forever because I want it to be perfect. So I am slowly working on non-Lego things that are within, you know, a world that exists. I'm working on some Lego things. I also have plans for just original fun Lego skits that are just not connected to anything, and we'll see how that goes. I'd say the main thing is, like, once I can have a pretty consistent income that I don't have to constantly make scenes nonstop, then I can really focus more on just like creating these original things and putting them out and not have to worry about whether or not they're going to do well.
Yeah, it's a balance, isn't it? I mean, you've got such a community now, and like, I love hearing people saying, "Oh, can you do this scene? Can you do this scene?" And there's something so amazing about just seeing your favourite scenes in Lego. It's very satisfying. Something that you just can't stop watching. I'll just watch a video, and it's like incredible.
What's he do? Just say base or freeze.
For someone out there that's kind of, maybe scared to put something out there on social media or have the world critique it or have eyes on it, because it can be a vulnerable space. If a video, maybe something doesn't do well, to some people that can dishearten them and think, oh, well, not many people enjoy that one. I might just not do another one. But really, I imagine you want to just keep doing them because you love doing them, rather than get disheartened because you're trying to, get views on something. I guess yours is organically grown and you've built that community.
When I first started doing this, I only had like 200, 300 followers. It was growing, but it was slow. And when things like the very first, technically Buffy and the Slayerverse was viral, but it was only like a few thousand views. Like it was viral to me because everything that I had posted was only ever, 50 to 100 views of anything. The first like actual viral video was when I did one little moment from the Barbie trailer.
Did you bring your rollerblades?
I literally go nowhere without them.
I think I got like 1 million views on that. And I immediately did another Barbie scene and it didn't do anything. And then I was just like, I don't know what I'm doing. This is really scary. But then I was just like, well, a lot of people really like that. And so I kept going. And my biggest piece of advice is that people will be assholes. Like, you just have to know that. Like, people would either insult me or tell me I was wasting my time or critique and tell me I got the hair wrong or whatever. Like, it was a lot more when I started because there were a lot less comments. There was a lot less eyes on it. So there were, 6 people telling me nasty things and 5 people telling me they loved it. And it was really hard for a while because I just didn't enjoy that. I was like, I'm just having fun putting my stuff out. I don't need, people being negative. But then over time, just continuing to do it and growing an audience. Now when those people, it doesn't even faze me. Like, it's just noise. It's just random noise in the corner because the majority of people really enjoy it. That's my biggest advice is like, if you might hit really nasty people at the top because people like to dunk on people.
Always, man. Always.
If you don't like something, just move on and look at something else. Like, you're not adding anything by being negative.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense, does it? This negative comment that you're saying, like, what the hell are you doing? It's like, that's pointless.
Yeah,
like, there's people out there that love doing that.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's another one of my favorite phrases where it's just like, I think it was Baz Luhrmann who said, remember the compliments you receive, forget the insults. If you succeed in doing this, tell me how. It's one of those things where it's just like, it's easy advice to give. It's impossible to follow, but like, just know that, if you keep going, you'll find your audience eventually.
Definitely, man. What hurts more, Trevor, a bad compliment or a video that has just not done as well as you hoped?
I would say the views. It's more just a frustrating mechanic of operating online because, for instance, I did a scene from Atlanta. It blew up. People were like, oh my God, I love Atlanta. Do more Atlanta. Millions of views. And hundreds of comments asked me to do Alligator Man. So I was like, all right, I'll do Alligator Man. And then it did like 1,000 views. I was like, what the hell? Like, it's things like that where I get really frustrated where I'm like, this feels like this is math. It's not mathing. I don't understand. I gave everybody what they asked for. But that's also something where, because I post everywhere, I post on Instagram and Threads and TikTok and YouTube, I'm able to see that it is algorithm based, which is another piece of advice I'd like to give everybody is just put it everywhere, because I'll have animations that go to millions of people on TikTok and 500 people on Instagram, or millions of people on Instagram and nowhere on YouTube and TikTok. And like, I can see like, oh, it's just, luck of the draw when I post, who sees it, where they see it, how it gets received, and how quickly these algorithms figure it out. So like, the audience is out there. It's just, we're all in their hands, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's crazy. I just think of that, like, are you not entertained? The gladiator scene, like, you asked for this.
This is what you wanted.
What do you want from me? To wrap up, Trevor, where can people find and support you as an artist? I know you got Patreon.
Yeah. My username is @TrevorCarlee everywhere. So you can see me on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Threads.
So many these days, isn't there?
Yeah, so all of the things. I'm mainly like active. Like you can come talk to me on Threads. You can talk to me in the comments of any of the things, but I usually will see everything on Threads.
So good to chat to you, Trevor. I just want to say thanks for your time, Trevor.
Of course, thank you.
What are you doing today, Trevor? What's the project today?
I'm working on a new Insecure scene, but today's one of those days where I have a ton of because I also have a podcast that I do, so I have to finish editing tomorrow's episode.
What's the podcast?
It's another Buffy podcast. It's me and my co-host running through every episode of Buffy.
Oh, I'm not even a Buffy fan. I probably won't subscribe.
Yeah, how dare you?
I apologise, Trevor. I thought it was about animating or Blender or something. So I'm going to put my phone down now. I'm just being honest.
Hey,
I
appreciate it.
Trevor, it's been amazing to meet you, honestly, and we wish you all the best. Like I say, anybody that's listening, watching, go support Trevor. If you've not seen it, you'll sit there and just scroll, watch, next one.
Yeah.
It's definitely a great bit of entertainment. Thanks, Trevor.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Bye, man.
Bye.